Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So today we have the start of a brand new season, and with that comes a new card. And this season's card is going to be insane. It is Zabu, the 3-cost, 2-power card that has the ongoing ability, your 4-cost cards cost 2 less. It does have a minimum of 1. We all know how crazy card cost reductions can get, and this being a 3-cost, I think is going to be insane. And so the first deck that I'm going to be trying with Zabu is a Hawk Shuri just blend, and it is aimed at being very consistent. With this list, if you don't draw into Zabu or Sera, you can start milling your deck with your Jubilee, and then Jubilee and Absorbing Man have 2 potential chances of pulling into that card to make sure that you have that card cost reduction by the end of the game. And then you can just flood the board. If you have both Zabu and Sera and the opponent does not do something to block it, you're going to be able to flood up to 6 cards onto the board, and that is just insane. And so this one is a very deep collection build. You'll notice that there are 2 Series 5 cards, there is a Series 4 card, and then the new Zabu. So if you're looking for more Series 3 related builds, definitely stick around. I'm going to be covering those as well, but I did want to just unleash everything I could at it the first time around. And then we're going to start diving into either how to counter it or how to build around it or with it with a limited collection. And so let's go ahead and jump over into a couple of games and I'll show you how to navigate it. All right, so first up we have Resmi, and in our starting hand we have Zabu. Now, on these first couple of games, I'm probably not going to snap too aggressively. I do want to just let this beast unleash, and I don't want to encourage people to retreat if I can help it. Now, once we get a feel for how this deck goes, things like that, I will snap more aggressively, but as long as they don't have a counter to Zabu, I think this is going to be nuts. And then we do draw into our Sera as well. Wow, this is going to be big. First game out, we have both of the cards that we need. Let's go ahead and throw Zabu onto the board. First game out with this card. First game, we have him drawn, and I'm excited to test it out. And so they do run a Sentinel. They now have 2 additional cards, so the Sentinel and the Iceman, which does hit our strong guy, but I think that's okay. We're going to have the Zabu. We can throw him onto the board. We have Shuri as well. And so I think we do both Shuri and Rock Slide here. We're not going to hold out and wait for a potential Wong. We're going to go Shuri into Rock Slide, and that's going to be 14 power turn 4. And then we'll be able to do Sera on 5 and then just flood everything else that we have, including the 10 power potential that Strong Guy will be able to offer. This is going to be nuts. Oh my gosh. I can't believe that this is a 3-cost card. And then we have the Hellcow as well. That is just beautiful. Let's go ahead and throw Sera onto the board. Like I said, I'm not going to snap, but if I was pushing for cubes here, I would snap. I feel very confident in what we have, depending on what they play. And they could do a last turn leader. Ooh, the Leech on the last turn is kind of interesting, but we can still flood the board with all of our 4-cost cards. They become 1 except for the one that got hit by Strong Guy. And so if they do a leader, they're only going to copy 1 card here. If they do a leader here, they're only going to copy 1 card. And if they use an arrow, I think we still might be able to outpace them. The Leech is unfortunate. I was hoping the Leech meta was gone, but with the start of a new season, the old reliable did come back. And so it is a leader. They're not going to be able to copy enough in the Mojo world, so we should win that location. They're also not going to be able to copy enough in Fisk Tower, and so the leader, I mean, what a fitting first match. It's not exciting. It's not, I didn't get to do the huge play that it can be, but the leader was not able to hold up, which makes me feel incredibly happy. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one, see if we can keep these games going. All right, so next up we have Gabby. The first location is the Vault, so we do want to play some of our cards there early. If we draw into Zabu, then I guess it doesn't really matter. They use a Korg. Maybe it's going to be another mirror match. I expect Zabu to be all over the ladder right now, and just finding and people trying to find the best way to build with him. We're going to go ahead and skip on turn 2. We do have Zabu to curve into on 3. The Daily Bugle gives us one of their cards, so it's a 0. Very interesting. I'm curious what they're running. We also have Sera now. And so I'm going to go ahead and do Zabu into the far right Daily Bugle lane. Next turn, we can curve into multiple cards, and I think we probably will. So we actually lost a game between the first game that we showcased and this one. We only played 1 game, and we lost to a Zabu Spectrum Destroyer style list that ran Enchantress. It was kind of an odd brew, but it did get the better of us because we slow played our turn 4 play and only dropped 1 card instead of 2. Ooh, this is beautiful. Let's go ahead and do the Wong into the Shuri. If they do Enchantress for some reason into the Zabu lane, that's fine. This is going to double trigger Shuri. Next turn, we'll still drop Sera. That's going to be a 16 power Sera that we're pushing onto the board. And that's going to, of course, reduce the cost of our Jubilee, our Rock Slide, and just give us a big power push on the last turn, and 16 power into the vault is going to be pretty massive. And so they run a Zabu of their own. So they drew it, I guess, off of curve. And so let's see what we can make happen. We do have the Wong, the Shuri. We could do Rock Slide here to push a lot of rocks into their deck. We just drew into the one from Korg. Or we go with Sera, which is going to be the 16 power play. I do think they're going to push a lot of power into the vault. Is 16 power going to be able to beat whatever they have? I don't know. I don't know if it's quite going to get that reach, but we're going to give it a shot. They do use Enchantress in the middle location, which is unfortunate, but Shuri has already triggered. We don't need that extra power push. Ooh, they do a Dracula. And so depending on what they have in their hand, maybe they're going with a more consistent style build that wants to have like an Infinite, and they just flood the rest of their cards, and then Infinite is left in their deck. So they might be able to win the vault. So we have 4 cards left in our deck. One is Hellcow, one is Strong Guy, one is Hawk, and then one last card, which is slipping my mind right now. I'm going to go ahead and do Jubilee to pull into a card. We'll do another Jubilee here. We're going to do a Rock Slide here, and that will fill up the rest of our lanes. They might beat us in the vault, but we have a pretty decent power push here and here. They will have a good power push as well. They only have 3 cards, so if they're wanting to hold one for Dracula to absorb into, then they're only going to be able to play 2 cards here. Wow, so they get a second Zabu. They get a copy of our Zabu, which is not a huge push in the Daily Bugle lane. Our Jubilee is going to pull into... it's the Strong Guy. And so now if our second Jubilee pulls into Hellcow, that is going to be the perfect pull. Oh no, it's Drax. Well, Drax is fine. The Rock Slide will come in, and it is going to let us win at the middle and the far right lane. Even though they get the massive 20 power in Dracula, we were just able to outpace and outpower them. What a ridiculous card. This meta is going to be nuts, guys. And so if you're not feeling Zabu or you get tired of it, I'm going to be looking at ways to counter it as soon as we get done exploring how it can be used well. So definitely stick around for the next couple of days to check out those videos as well. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have 420 minus 351, which is 69. They've gotten me with that before. The first location is New York, so we'll be able to shift cards. Ooh, it's a TVA game, which is awful. If we can draw into Zabu, then we can push some pretty good power with our Hawk and something else, but we don't. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, nobody has played a thing. What is this? Do we think they can play multiple cards here? If so, or if not, I guess we can always outpower them with the Hawk. They have 5 cards left in their deck, so it's an 11 power play. I don't know. We're gonna send it. Oh, they do play 2 cards. The Dracula is big in the Wasp. They could win because of the Wasp in the Dream Dimension. It is a Ghost Rider, so we win. What a weird game. Okay, let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Tuesday, and it is Tuesday. So the first location is the Dark Dimension. So we're going to go ahead and play Korg just out into the unknown location, send them 1 rock, maybe disrupt their draw just a little bit, and then we're still looking to draw into our Jubilee, our Sera, or our Zabu here. Ooh, that is actually amazing. The peak gives us just what we need. I'm going to go ahead and hide the Wong into the Dark Dimension. That's going to create some kind of crazy potential play lines. Especially if we get Rock Slide, we can hide Rock Slide there, and then that's gonna make our Hawk really big. We get Rock Slide and then copy that with Absorbing Man. Again, Hawk is gonna be huge. They do use Scorpion. Do we go ahead and just play our Hawk onto the board? It is only turn 3. I'm gonna go ahead and skip here. I don't want to put too much information out onto the board for them. And it looks like they're running just a good value deck. Something that aims to just push really good value. Now, something else that we can do, we can hide the Shuri into an Absorbing Man, which will copy Shuri's ability. It will trigger it again. He will be a 12 power play, and then we can still push whatever else we want, wherever else we want to. And so I think we are going to do that. We're setting up for a kind of, oh no, it's a Cerebro 2 list. That is what we're going up against here, is the Cerebro 2. And so we know that they don't have a Cosmo, an Arrow, a Enchantress. So we are free to do whatever we need to do here. So let's go ahead and play Sera. That's only going to reduce cost of our cards by 1. Actually, is that worth it then? I don't think it's worth it at this point. So Sera would reduce them by 1. They would go down to 3. We could only play 2 of them next turn anyways. And we would still need to play our Hawk, which would still be 1. And so we're going to go ahead and play Hawk into the Peak, and we will play Absorbing Man into Dark Dimension. What we were hoping for is Rock Slide. If we can draw into Rock Slide, that is going to be beautiful. That is what we're wanting to see, is our... Again, we're right off the start of the season. I'm not going to snap, but we are very confident here. They don't have a way to counter the Hawk. This is going to be a massive power lane just with the double-powered Absorbing Man and the double-powered Rock Slide, and then that is going to buff up our Hawk as well by 8. So unless they do something really, really... I guess they could do a Cerebro and a Mystique. No, the Mystique into the Mojo World to copy Blue Marvel into, a Storm. That might do it for them, actually. No, it's a 16 power Storm lane. We do have it. They didn't have the high roll of the Cerebro, and so we're going to have our Wong. This Dark Dimension lane is going to be huge. Into the Shuri, into the 12 power Absorbing Man who copies Shuri, so it triggers twice. No, it only triggers once. Absorbing Man is kind of strange that way. So it only triggers once. It does give us a 12 power Absorbing Man, a 12 power Rock Slide, and then the 19 power Hawk. And we didn't get lucky in drawing to Zabu or Jubilee throughout the game, and we were still able to make it work. Luckily, a Cerebro 2 does have a relatively low ceiling, and they didn't get their high roll. Had they got their high roll, it would have been a little bit closer, but we will take those. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Cat, and the first location is Hala. And we typically don't want to flood too much onto the board early anyways. We do have Wong and Shuri. Ooh, the Sanctum Sanctorum is interesting because we're not going to be able to play anything over into that lane. And so we're going to have to really make the 8 spaces that we have count. So it makes it a little bit easier for them to do any kind of like counter plays with a Shang-Chi or an Enchantress and just really hurt our upside. So I'm going to do Zabu. Next turn we'll be able to do both Wong and Shuri, which is going to be phenomenal. That is going to allow us to do the 16 power Sera on turn 5, and then we can flood the rest of our cards onto the board after the fact. And so let's go with the Wong, the Shuri. Ooh. Do we think they're going to play cards over there? If they play cards over into Hala, 4 power is nothing to write home about. We're going to flood it into Kunlun. That's just a risk we're going to take. We're going to flood it into Hala instead. And they do play into Kunlun, which is fine. They do go digging with their Jubilee, and it pulls into a Chavez, which is a big power push. But if we can outpower them, this is going to be phenomenal because they do have the locational advantage on us, and we might be able to find a way to make it work anyways. Now, we do have Absorbing Man. We can do something like Drax into Absorbing Man or Drax here into Absorbing Man over here and just push an insane amount of power. Now, we are going to fall to a Chavez. And again, I'm not going to snap, but if we were confident they didn't have a Chavez or a counterplay, then we would snap here. But we are going to let this one play out. We want to play nice with everybody so that we can see some cool in-game stuff. So we do have the double trigger for Drax here. We have the potential for a 13 power Hawk. I think we do Drax into Absorbing Man here, which would give us a really big hollow location into the Hawk and the Strong Guy. Because of the locational issue, we're not able to do a Jubilee pool to really dig into the depths of our deck. And a Shang-Chi we're going to fold to, but we're going to let it play out. We have initiative, which means that we just lose 2 Shang-Chi plays, but we are going to see if we can make this work anyways. So we do have the double trigger for Drax. We then have the double trigger for Absorbing Man, which is, no, it's just a single. I keep forgetting that is how that interaction works. So the 20 power Infinite is not enough. Oh my gosh. So they skipped on 5, allowing them to play the Infinite, but it was not enough to match the power push from the Drax and the Absorbing Man. This is nuts. Like, I feel bad running this. This feels like Leech Leader oppressive. Let's go ahead and jump over into one more. All right, next up we have Power Cosmic. And the first location is Kamartaj, which means that we could have a really insanely high roll from a Shuri, from a Wong Rock Slide, a Wong Shuri. Just so much potential. Or if we really need to dig, we can do the Jubilee, and that's going to pull 2 cards out of our deck. If it pulls an Absorbing Man, that's 1 additional one. Just such insane potential. But we don't have Zabu yet. They play a Sunspot and an Armor, which is fine. We have such ridiculous power push potential that is okay. We don't get the high roll that we need in the Zabu. We are going to skip here. They have a Lizard, which is, again, which is okay. If we can draw into a Jubilee, we are going to go milling. We are looking for Zabu. It doesn't matter. We have our Hell Cow, and that's really the only negative pull here. We're gonna do Jubilee. We might end up accidentally capping out this lane if it pulls into an Absorbing Man, but that would be fine. If it pulls into it, it's okay. They do use the double trigger for Shuri, so hopefully we keep at least 1 space here. We do get the Zabu, so we get the high roll there, and then the Drax, which double triggers against their Shuri, which is probably the best high roll we could have gotten from that pool. And so now we do have Sera that we'll be able to throw onto the board, and then we can just flood. We can just flood everything else that we have out onto the board, and one of those is going to be a double trigger for Shuri. We can then throw our Hawk, our Hell Cow, our Strong Guy. It is going to be a huge last turn power push that I do think will be able to outpower the big vision that we're seeing here. And if they use a Taskmaster to copy it, I think we'd be able to outpower that as well. And so let's go with the double trigger for Shuri here. That is going to allow us to do, we want to do our biggest base power card. So either the Hell Cow or the Rock Slide. And oh, there was a fundamental issue in my calculations. So with both Zabu and Sera, they are all 1-cost cards. We can't play anything into Hellfire Club, which is not great. We can do the Rock Slide, the Shuri, the Hell Cow, the Strong Guy, and then the Hawk. I think we do lose. I stand corrected. I think we lose to a Taskmaster play. We are going to push the Hawk into Kamartaj instead of something... Actually, no. Let's do the Shuri into the double trigger for Rock Slide, into everything else as normal. And then we will empty our hand. That is going to be a huge power push from the Strong Guy. It's only 12 power on the Rock Slide, though. So if they move their vision here, we just lose because we didn't calculate well enough exactly what we needed. So they do have the double trigger for their Rock Slide. We should be able to win in the Kamartaj lane. And then they are not going to have an empty hand. So our Strong Guy is going to be a little bit stronger. Our Rock Slide is a little bit bigger. And so we win the Kamartaj lane. We are going to also win the miniaturized lab lane. Oh my gosh. I don't know. This feels very much like the Dino Carnage style of just insane power push potential. Being able to drop previously 2 dinos on the last turn, or the +2 power Novas across the board, this feels just as explosive. And as a meta, we are probably going to see a shift to hard counter this, similar to how we saw a shift with the Leech hard countered the Silver Surfer on the last turn. And so I am going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Definitely stick around for some other builds. I'm going to do some more accessible lists for those of you that are in Series 3, but as far as a high roll potential, this list is phenomenal. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you have an idea or you've tried Zabu in some of your own lists, let me know what you're running down in the comment section down below. And if I end up using your suggestion, then I'll give you guys a shout out on the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.